Join us now for a stroll down memory lane and see just what occurred in your favorite year, 1948. So make yourself comfortable and prepare to recall the real pictures of the good old days. Enjoy the flick.
General Omar Bradley becomes the new Army Chief of Staff as General Dwight D. Eisenhower swears in his successor. In a ceremony of military brevity, General Bradley is given a formidable task. President Truman pins the third cluster on General Eisenhower's Distinguished Service Medal as he retires after 2 brilliant years as Chief of Staff and 35 years of Army service, during which he commanded the greatest armed forces in the world's history. In a farewell interview with newsmen, he answers some questions of worldwide importance and vital to America.
Sir, do you consider universal military training essential to national security?
Yes. There is no more important stone in our whole security structure than a trained citizenry.
Has the atomic bomb done away with the need for a large army?
It depends upon what you mean by the word large and what you are going to do with it. Any concept of warfare demands land soldiers to seize bases, both for defensive purposes and for offensive purposes. Whether you're going to use the air or the Navy or any other means of winning a war, you must have trained men to get the necessary places from which to wage a campaign.
You said something about people not having any money anymore a few minutes ago.
They have no money for entertainment.
Well, the president just took in his statement before the Congress here just a very few days ago, said that since 1938, the industrial people of the nation, their income dollar for dollar after the payment of all taxes is 50% more than it was then. Now, you believe the president, don't you?
Well, don't forget the president must understand also that if a man got an 18.5% increase 4 years ago, his cost of living went up 50 or 60%. So the poor devil can't catch up with his high cost of living.
No, but what the president told you was that it's just the opposite, that since 1938, while the high cost of living has risen 65%, the incomes rose 115%, and after the deduction of income tax, they have 50% more. Now, don't you believe the president?
I won't contradict the president.
Well, then it's true then, isn't it?
After all, he's a potential member of the union. He's a piano player.
It must be all for all. Europe can only be united by the heartfelt wish and vehement expression of the great majority of all the peoples, in all the parties, in all the freedom-loving countries, no matter where they dwell. We cannot aim at anything less than the union of Europe as a whole, and we look forward with confidence to the day when that union will be achieved.
Count Volker Bernadotte, man of peace, mediator for the United Nations in Palestine, is dead, the victim of a hail of assassins' bullets in ancient Jerusalem, a martyr to the cause of peace for which he strove. At the Palais de Chaillot in Paris, the United Nations, led by Sir Alexander Cadogan, mourns his passing.
The Security Council is met here today under the shadow of the terrible news from Palestine of the murder of the United Nations mediator, Count Bernadotte. I'm sure that the Council as a whole will wish to express its horror at this senseless and disastrous crime. The United Nations were fortunate indeed in securing the services of so distinguished a man who at once devoted the whole of his energy to his supremely difficult task, in the performance of which he has now laid down his life.
French film actors, technicians, and writers parade along the Rue Madeleine in Paris in protest against the flooding of French markets with foreign pictures. Deprived of motion picture production facilities during the war, the French industry faces an uphill battle in post-war competition. One of the special targets of the marchers is the American films, blamed for depriving the French of their livelihood. But as usual in present-day France, no demonstration can be peaceable. Communists take over, and violence, organized and consistent, spreads the length of the boulevards. These scenes are familiar ones in the France of today. Every difference of opinion becomes a major attack against the government, and the hard-working gendarmes again go to work against crowds who frequently have the last word, or maybe we should have said the last scream. American pictures, one of democracy's prime voices, again draw the fire of communists who seek a France under the red yoke. Who's the Liar? Might well be the title of the drama which unfolds before a packed caucus room where the House Un-American Affairs Committee members swear in Alger Hiss, former State Department executive. Mr. Hiss is accused of being a former communist, and before news cameras faces his accuser.
I identified Mr. Chambers as the man I had known as Crosley on several different grounds. I said then and still say that I can only regard his present features in pictures and in looking at him as having a certain familiarity.
And you see no
I identified him on several grounds which I think the record will show.
In a hushed atmosphere, Whittaker Chambers, self-confessed former communist and magazine editor, repeats his charge against Mr. Hiss.
Mr. Hiss is lying.
Mr. Hiss is lying. In other words, this story is a pure fabrication out of the whole thing.
I would say that it's 80% at least fabrication.
America awaits the verdict on communism in high places, but the committee says one or the other will go to jail for perjury.